Hi, I'm Carmen Wild, and this is Business Without Barriers, the show proving you can break through barriers if you bring humanity back to business. Our guest today, Bronwyn Corbett, is a woman who finds the way and who makes the impossible possible. At first glance, Bronwyn, the co-founder and CEO of the Grit Real Estate Income Group, looks like a fun-loving blonde beauty, and so she is. But don't underestimate this life and business warrior. She's a force to be reckoned with. Her company Grit was founded in 2014 and is a diversified real estate income company that partners with multinational blue chip tenants across Africa. Grit is the largest Africa-focused real estate income group listed on the stock exchange of Mauritius. Following a nail-biting capital raise of $132 million, the company listed on the London Stock Exchange on 31 July 2018, making it the first Mauritian company to list on the London Stock Exchange. By 2020, just 6 years later, Grit had built a portfolio of 47 income-producing assets worth more than $900 million. Bronwyn is also the co-founder of Gateway Real Estate Africa, offering turnkey developments. She's a South African chartered accountant and past winner of the South African Institute for Chartered Accountants Top 35 and Under 35 competition. And she is also the 2019 winner of the Southern Africa chapter of Ernst Young World Entrepreneur Awards in the exceptional category. This is an exceptional woman who holds her own in diverse, very tough territories, and also supports causes that empower the continent's women, wildlife, and oceans. She has two gorgeous daughters who adore her and display her guts and independence. She works hard, but she plays hard too, and she makes sure fitness and wellness is one of her top priorities. Bronwyn is a highly conscious, evolved, and relevant leader, a pioneer who stands for truth and exudes love. And in the next hour, we get to hear how she's igniting the furnace of growth in Africa and unlocking invaluable opportunities for the thousands of lives she impacts. Bronwyn, a huge, amazing welcome to you. I'm so excited to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thanks, Coms. Thank you.
It's such a pleasure. So, I know that many people refer to you as the Lara Croft of business. And just like she ventures into very hazardous territories, so you too go into seemingly inaccessible and hazardous territories across Africa. And then you don't only do that, you come out victorious. How do you do this, Bronwyn?
Thanks, Coms. So it is an interesting analogy. It really is, because, you know, we see ourselves, and myself specifically, as an absolute pioneer. And, you know, this whole concept of pioneering is, you know, I always talk about Africa as the last frontier. Mm-hmm. And the ability to allow sort of developed market investors to access Africa, access the last frontier of growth, and being able to pioneer that, and not just as an individual, but also a team. So, you know, somebody said to me, you can't call your company Grit and not think things are going to be interesting along the way. So our company's name, Grit, the guts, resilience, innovation, tenacity, couldn't be more fitting for what we have to as individuals and as a company and as a team demonstrate in these territories. So for us, we wouldn't do anything else differently. Africa is our region. The ability to extrapolate value for investors out of Africa, the ability to work relationships, the strength of relationships and what they actually still mean in a country like, or a continent like Africa, is just phenomenal for me. So for us, you know, we keep pioneering. We will continue to pioneer into the future. And, you know, not everybody can do this. You know, ultimately, there are a magnitude of sacrifices, there are a magnitude of struggles. The concept of pioneering, you know, the first Mauritian business ever to list in London, the only African real estate, multi-geography, multi-asset class vehicle of its sort in the world. And that's what's interesting. You know, it's interesting where the world is made up of so many copies of everything. And then you are still able to create something that's so unique. And that for me is the most phenomenal thing to be able to create something that's so unique and ultimately also give back at the same time.
So if you just, I know you come with a very big dose of humility. So I know some of these questions I'm going to have to dig a bit deeper with you because of your humility. What do you think you personally, if you look at your qualities, what is helping you do what you've just said now? So many firsts, so many accomplishments, so many other companies that are copycats, and yet you're going in there and doing something completely different in very tough territories. If you look to yourself as a person, what are you bringing that is allowing you to unlock these opportunities?
You know, if I just look at my makeup and my DNA, and I think the ability to deal with adversity. So I have, from a very young age, had some really large obstacles placed in my way. I had a very challenging upbringing, parents that were very challenging at the time in their relationship. So, you know, the ability to deal with obstacles, the ability to realize that an obstacle does not stop you, but you can migrate and you can maneuver an obstacle to be able to get through it. So, you know, I am very happy to face adversity. I'm almost, I've almost been structured in a way that has the ability that when I look at adversity, that I'm able to look at the positivity. I'm looking at the way of doing, you mentioned at the beginning, finding the way, because I always believe there is a way. It might not be a way that people like to travel, but I don't fear traveling that at all. And, you know, that sense of just when you are absolutely wired to not only deal with adversity on your own, but also to pull an entire team to deal with adversity at the same time. And I'm often seen, probably on a daily basis, reminding people that wherever there's a challenge, there's an opportunity. And, you know, one of the things is just having such gratitude for what we have and understanding what we have. And when you're able to look at it from that perspective, when you're able to face adversity, when any obstacle you can find a way, I have that literally embodied in my soul, actually. So I think being able to have that as an individual, not only as an individual, but being able to motivate a team with regards to that, is something that I was always meant to do what I'm doing now. I was always meant to pioneer. I was always meant to do these many firsts. I was literally put into this universe to be able to do that. And actually, I would be selling myself short and actually doing a big disservice to the universe if I wasn't doing what I needed to do. Because as I've mentioned, not many people are wired this way. And we need people to face adversity. We need people to find the way, especially where we find ourselves in the world today. And I encourage, when I find people around me that have similar traits to this, I encourage them to conquer being unique, to not be the same, because that's what it's all about. And that's really what's going to change the world.
Sure. So powerful. So many nuggets of gold in those 1 or 2 minutes there. And I just want to drill a bit deeper, because I think given the circumstances we're in and the global conditions right now, what you're touching on has never been more important. And some people are not wired that way. You know, some people don't know how to see adversity or the other side, or to move the obstacles, as you say, and to be even in gratitude when you're faced with such obstacles. So what are some of the things, if you could take us into maybe a team meeting, so we can sort of role play. How do you teach your team? How have you taught your team to get wired, to find the way? What are some of the things you've shared with them or helped them develop?
So I think, you know, what's important is to identify that there is, you know, the whole thing about this is that you do have to face the obstacle. So a lot of people run in the other direction. So, you know, it's to face the obstacle, it's to discuss it, it's to have the hard conversations. And then often what I will say to the team is that upon understanding it and actually facing it, because a lot of people tend to put things in their bottom drawer, once you can do that, and you would have known that at the beginning of this entire COVID period, I made a huge attempt at changing the vocab, changing the language of the team. So we had this amazing concept of reinvention revolution. which has actually just become so embedded in our team. And that reinvention revolution means that not only are you finding the way for yourself or your business, but you're finding the way for others. Those people that are frozen by the shock and the fear, it's about not just serving yourself, but serving those people. Because ultimately, if we can serve others and ultimately we help others find solutions, we're going to be in such a solution-driven mindset. So for me, it's changing the vocab. It's being able to say, it's not cost cutting, but it's cost consciousness. These are beautiful, beautiful words. It's being able to then say to the guys, where you do see adversity, where you find that there is no way, let's discuss where there is a way. Because every single issue, there is always a way. And it's been able to tackle it in that way. And it's also been able to really sit down with the challenge at hand and really dissect it as a team. Because as soon as you get that creative thinking going with people, it's amazing the solutions that can be driven out of people. But when people are sitting in that state of fear, state of anguish, they're not realizing that there's an issue, or they don't want to accept there's an issue, then the mind and the brain is wired differently. So that is really what we drive from a team perspective. And we saw it when we went into this COVID period. Everybody, some of the team members went into that fright and that fear, and they froze. And it was to really shake them up to say, guys, let's change the vocab of this business. And it just changed the motivational level. It just changed the way things were looked at, the way things were tackled. And once you start changing people's vocab and you start reinventing the way you do things, it's amazing to see what comes out of that. And that's the opportunity. And that's how we've driven it as a team together.
So that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, because what you're saying really is the key elements is when you, and then it works both ways. So you change the mindset and that changes your vocab, or you change the vocab and that can also change your mindset. And together that can change the behavior, which Grit is just so phenomenal at doing through your leadership as well. If you could, you've seen and you've shared with me so many stories of so many leaders who are struggling right now, who haven't experienced struggle as deep as this potentially in their entire business career. What message would you like to share, apart from what you've shared already? What message would you love to share with business owners or leaders steeped in that struggle right now?
Yeah, so I think the challenge, and I've seen it with business leaders that we have relationships with, and I've seen this element of fear. And once the fear kicks in, driving solutions leave the room. And ultimately, what I would implore these people is that, one, you need to have a mechanism to exit fear, because you can't control what you can't control. So ultimately, you need to have a mechanism where you are able to let go of that fear. And that mechanism is to really focus on what is good, what is positive. I use this concept of gratitude a lot. I live in a world of gratitude. I remind myself daily what I'm grateful for. I get my children to remind themselves. I get my staff members. So you almost have to sit in a level of gratitude, because once you focus on the elements of your business that are positive, because they are definitively there, what will then start happening is that fear will then start dissipating, and then you'll start finding solutions coming out. And it's around not just using yourself, but using the people that are your network, that are close to you. It's about sitting down. It's about having these discussions, whether it's your team members, whether it's colleagues. It's about understanding how people are doing things differently, understanding if there are other business opportunities coming out. So, healthcare for me has always been a massive dream for me to sort of start a healthcare real estate business. And I put into the universe about 5 years ago a company called MedEd, who would literally be a service of real estate for medical and education across Africa. Now, for us, the amount of opportunities that have come upon us in the last couple of months, in the last couple of weeks, have been absolutely tremendous. And it speaks to healthcare. And why healthcare? Because we find ourselves that we have now faced a crisis of such magnitude that health is so important. And this is what people need to see. They need to see where else are there opportunities in their business. How do you take what's happened today? So there are businesses that have been hugely successful through COVID, companies like telecommunications, data centers, anything that's related in relation to that, healthcare, education, people's priorities are changing. So it's around really trying to visualize and do a storyboard of everything that you can think of, possibly using not only your own resource, but using resources of others. And it's about having debates with people that have got an aptitude. It's about talking about the real stuff. I find that when I talk to people that talk about real things, the amount of ideas that come into my mind is just phenomenal. When you spend time with an unbelievable person, and it's not just about wealth, it's about success, and success comes in not just money, but it's success in your mind as well. Once you have an opportunity for that. Sorry.
Hello. Good.
My nice distraction at the office.
Well, that's real. You're just talking about.
Yeah, with the girls. So I think, you find you surround yourself with people that understand the universe, that understand everything else. And that is where your ideas come from. And it's incredible that once you get one idea, you get the next idea. And as soon as you open that up and you remove the fear and you remove the anguish, it's like a light comes through. And it's incredible. You'll start opening up LinkedIn and seeing articles. We're very keen to get involved in an agriculture project in Mauritius. At the end of the day, countries have realized that they have to be sustainable, because when they're locked down, they have to be able to create themselves. They can't import everything. So there's so many opportunities at the moment, and it's about embracing those opportunities. And that would really be my advice to any business owner that's going through any challenging times at the moment, is that draw on your networks, put your vision board together, understand what COVID or any crisis, what are the sectors that are impacted, what can be understood, how does your business link into healthcare or education or telecommunications, the businesses that have thrived over this period. How do you understand those businesses, and how can your business link into it? For us, can we be the real estate provider? So we're not a hospital operator, but we can build hospitals, and that's how we link into an opportunity of this nature.
Sure. Again, so a wealth of insights captured in there. And so what I'm seeing, which is so beautiful for other people to see, is, you're in a couple of the sectors massively impacted by COVID-19, or the impacts of that. And yet you haven't sat back and thought, oh gosh, we're doomed. Oh shucks. That's it. We have to pack up our bags and forget about any successes in the next year. What you've done is you've really managed to pivot. You've had those tough conversations. You've rethought things, and you've looked at where the opportunities lie, and you're moving in that direction. And that's what other people need to do as well. But through those beautiful conversations and networking and really, and what you said, which is really so crucial for around gratitude, because a lot of people will say, oh, gratitude, that isn't that like a soft thing for, hardcore business leaders to embrace and talk about? Absolutely not, because research studies have shown that in your mind, if you in gratitude, fear can't be in that same space in your mind. So you've got fear, you've got gratitude. If you've got gratitude, you rule out fear. So that's really amazing, and such a strength that you bring into your team. Thanks for that, Bronwyn. So maybe you can show, or maybe if you could share with us, if you look at your business today compared to 6 months ago when all this started, or maybe it's 5 months ago, how are you, almost in spite of the challenges, potentially even better off in certain aspects? What surprise has come out of this?
So, I was just saying to one of my team members that it feels a little bit like Groundhog Day, start, play, stop, push, repeat. And he was actually saying, no, Bronwyn, it hasn't been at all. At the end of the day, it's been, sorry, apologies. At the end of the day, it's been, there's been a couple of things that have happened. One, as a team that travels all the time, we've actually now been put together for the last sort of 3 to 4 or 5 months. So that has been absolutely amazing, from the fact of really just spending the time together. spending the time with your team, the brainstorming, the rationalization, the thinking. That's been absolutely remarkable. But over and above that, he said something to me that, all of our backlog, everything that was not that important, so you're putting it underneath because you're doing the next deal and you're doing the next trip and you're going to Ghana and you're going to Morocco, everything that we didn't want to deal with has now been dealt with. So all of the backlog, all of the administration, we've dealt with all of that. We've spent time, we've integrated the team. So we always had this challenge about teams being integrated and spending time with each other. The integration has happened so seamlessly and so beautifully because we've been together. Also the fact that we have really had this concept of cost consciousness. So we have been so aware of the financial impact, not just to our business, but actually to the island of Mauritius, to the African continent. So everything, our entire language has changed to cost consciousness. And just by being cost conscious, we took $2 million off our administrative cost line. And everybody is owning that cost consciousness. So, when you tend to grow a business really quickly, it's those small things that you often don't get back to. We've got back to all of that. Actually, it's been quite tremendous to see. And the automation, so Leon, our CFO, they've spent time with the other teams. They've automated a lot of the stuff. A lot of the manual processes have been automated. This is stuff that would have been nice to have, but wouldn't have been that important to deal with because we were doing the next transaction. Now the guys are doing that. I don't know where you lost me, but I what I was actually saying is that, we've got a foundation that we built our business, and sometimes your foundation can have a few potholes along the way, and especially when you're growing it so quickly. So it's given us almost an opportunity to go back to the foundation and fill up those potholes. And the base that we've now created is actually even more unbelievable for the future. And that foundation is even stronger than it ever has been before. So I'm extremely, really, I have such gratitude for this time on the ground. And I have such gratitude that the team and myself, even on a personal perspective, and the beautiful stuff I've been doing from a mindfulness perspective, and the time that I've had to spend time on that, I have such gratitude for this time, because this will always be the base, and this is where we will go to using this foundation into the future.
Oh, such an incredible reframe on such a, probably the toughest time in the history of, certainly our age. And for you to come back with absolute strength like that to just spring from, that's just incredible. So another, you touched on very quickly this incredible grit culture, and having had the privilege of working with you and your team, we've constantly said there is this je ne sais quoi, this beautiful spice that you guys have that is so unique and so powerful, and so it's sort of magnetic. It draws you into you and your team. If you were to give us a little bit of an inkling of what is that magic? How do you see it as the founder who's created it? What is making this magic happen?
So I think, the magic starts with people, and sort of the relationship that our CFO, who was really here from the beginning, Leon, Greg, obviously one of the other co-founders of the business, the relationship, and we started this concept at the beginning called War Room. But, the relationship and the energy and the love and the passion and the fire that we have within the three of us, what it did is that we ultimately went and found people that firstly appreciated that, understood it, but also lived that themselves. Mm-hmm. So the individuals you see in our business, and I always call us a bunch of misfits that have got together to run a business, but ultimately we are misfits because everybody is so beautifully unique, and everybody wants to be unique, and everybody owns that. Nobody's ashamed of them being unique, and from all sorts of perspectives. So I think for us, it's the people. And we've had people in the business that haven't owned their uniqueness or haven't had that fire in the belly. I always talk about that fire in the belly. And those are people that haven't enjoyed the grit culture, because it is a really encompassing business, because it really is a family. And it sounds so cliched that, but we are very much a part of each other's core, our souls. once you work in a business like this, or once you find yourself home, we always say, you've come home, and a lot of people have left and come home back to Grit. It really is something that's so unique. So the people around us, I think it all started with the sort of founders at the time, the passion that we have. The three of us are such different individuals, which is interesting to see that we have been able to work together so effectively. You have Leon, who's the absolute accountant, you have Greg, that's the absolute dreamer, and you have me in between. And we had a young girl that's being poached by the World Bank that's actually just left us now, that spent 3 years with us. And she jokes to say, she was birthed of the three of us. And she calls it, which sounds really tongue-in-cheek, but the best threesome, because ultimately we are so unique in that if team members and people can take a little bit of each of us, what they have is actually tremendous. And it's that uniqueness of the three of us, and we've recreated that below us with the people in the teams. And people live the passion. They live not just the passion of business, but the passion for Africa. The ability to pioneer, because you do have to be very brave, and you do have to like adventure, and you do have to live on the edge if you're going to pioneer. You do have to be a bit of an adrenaline junkie, and the people in our business are all of those things. So, it's a little bit of the sort of adrenaline to be pioneering. It is the passion, it's the love of Africa, it's the love of real estate, and it's the impact to change people's lives. So we all have, in many ways, and in many countries or many people in our organization, we have changed lives. And that is ultimately why we do what we want to do. And that is ultimately why we want to create wealth. We want to create wealth, not to just keep it and circulate it amongst a few people, but to have that abundance, to flow that wealth to others, to have opportunity to give back to others. And for us, that is our core. And one of the biggest things that I've done in the last sort of 18 months of my life is that I've realized, and I now live that, and I live that in every part of my life, whether it's with the girls, whether it's at home, whether it's in business, whether it's relationships. It's to ultimately never extinguish that fire, and to do everything with that passion and fire. And as you mentioned, comms, is that we work hard and we play hard. So as vigorously as we've got grit at the workplace, we've also got it when we do things together. And it's amazing to see, and it's amazing to see the camaraderie between the team. And it's amazing to see that everybody's got each other's back, and there's nobody trying to be better than anybody else. Everybody realizes where they're positioned. And everybody is really just trying to promote the next person. And that goes from myself, and it's driven all the way down in the organization. People here are such creators. I always have this concept is, are you a consumer? Have you come into this universe just to consume, and then you're going to leave the universe and it will be no better off? Or are you in this universe to create? And we employ creators. And I'm a creator, and I only want creators around me. I want people that are going to leave this universe and know that they have actually left it a better place, even better than when they arrived. And I think if we can drive that concept, even from a world perspective, and if Grit can sort of show other businesses and show the country of Mauritius and show the countries of Africa what that actually means, and we get people to start living that, it will be absolutely, absolutely fantastic.
And you're doing that already in so many incredible ways. I mean, just starting with your team, who I think they would walk over coals, they jump or plunge off the cliff in the honor and doing what they believe is right by other people, and contributing such immense value, because that probably is the key differentiator in your team, is that you're in financial services, yet yes, maybe the misfits in financial services, because if you look at the narrative and the status quo across the globe, what you've got is dog eats dog. You've got the taking from the many to benefit the few. You've got this egotistical, power-driven type leadership happening too often, and which probably got our world into such a mess as it is right now. And here you have this company doing something so completely different. This show is about bringing humanity back to business, and you're the epitome of your culture is the epitome of that. And look at the results that you're getting. record-breaking results, so many firsts, so many pioneering feats, because of the people stuff that you bring in and driving, and most importantly, this value creation, which is such a beautiful, it's just purposeful, and it lives right within your purpose statement, which with the end part reads, generate sustainable returns for generations to come for all stakeholders, including the people of Africa. So it's right within your purpose statement, which is so beautiful. And then that runs like a thread right through your organization. That is so unique, Bronwyn. At what point in your life do you think this became so ultimately important, to be this, to drive value creation and contribute to the extent that you and your team do? What do you think you owe it to in terms of life experience?
So it's interesting because I've never known myself any other way, which is quite interesting. But I think, if you do grow up with an element of adversity, and you do see challenges, and you see what it means to be given opportunity and what it means not to be given opportunity. And through my life, I had key people that stepped in and gave me opportunity where possibly I wasn't ready for the opportunity, or possibly I was too young, but I was given it. And I think I have such appreciation and gratitude for what I was given. And the ability now to almost pay it forward, have this concept of giving it on, of paying it forward. So for me, what is really important is that, again, if we can have more people on this earth that are creators, and if we can have more businesses and more governments and that are adding back, that are not taking, the ability for me is that is the new world that we want to see. And right now, I think COVID has happened because of the fact that, people weren't doing that. And now we've been almost forced into looking at society and looking how we can help. And, I just chuckled over this period because I was delivering food, and I was doing all sorts of things, and nobody was even passing money. So you would sort of drop off sweet potatoes and get back oranges. And you didn't even ask what the price difference was. It was actually like you're bartering stuff. And it was so amazing going back to basics. But I had this and you had that, and we just shared it. And for me, it was really an amazing concept that if we can go back to that, and we can also remember, and it's been so interesting because in my career, I've watched the competition. Again, there's 2 female CEOs of 46 listed REITs in South Africa. And, I've looked at the concept of everybody trying to take everybody out, and that if somebody went and developed in Nigeria, another 20 people would all go and develop in the same road. And this was which shopping center would go up first and everything else. And for me, that made no sense because these countries are so hard. They're so difficult to navigate. Why not cooperate? Because they are so difficult, you don't need competition at your door as well. And you don't need everybody fighting for the same product and everything else. If everybody just put all of their resources together and developed one shopping center, can you imagine the success of that? And their money or their return would be 100 times fold to everybody trying to do the same thing. And I've watched it year upon year. I've watched people speak badly of other people in business. I've dealt with rumors about people speaking badly about us, and I would phone and say, why have you had this conversation? And it just came down to exactly that. Competition, trying to bring down people around you because you think that's how you're going to rise. But the reality is not. The reality for me, it's all about relationships, and it's all about coordination and collaboration and doing the things together, especially when times are hard. I've seen the adversity that we faced, and really there's only 2 reasons why we get through that. And I mean, there's a lot of underlying reasons, but there's 2 aspects. It's the team around me, and it's the relationships that we have. It's the relationships in business. And those relationships can come in investors, they can come in partners, but there are times when I've had to make calls to people to assist that if I didn't have a relationship with them, they probably would have looked at me and said, why do I need to assist you? But they know that the relationship's so deep and the trust is so deep and the time spent is so deep that when you do phone to say, I need another 60 days to make a payment on X, you know that they are going to say, okay, I get it. Not, no, I'm going to call you up. And that for me is so, so key. The importance of relationships when you face adversity, the importance of the people that you surround yourself with when you face adversity. So, so critical.
Sure. Here you are a financial services, in the financial services industry, working in very tough territories, inaccessible to so many, like you say, the institutional investors in the first world. And you've based your success and your whole ethos and purpose around this human element, which we're seeing dramatic successes, results, movement through the adversities. Like you say, it's almost astonishing what we see happening within Grit because of this foundation that you've created. What would you say to business leaders out there that haven't quite, maybe they sort of understand it on a logical level, but maybe it's not at a heart level yet, to make the switch where the human element becomes so important? It's not just the business case and the numbers, but bring the human element so that the business case and numbers can be, go through the roof as well. What would you say the ultimate benefit to business and to humanity would be if we were to embrace this human element as you've been speaking of?
So, I mean, I think maybe to answer the question in two parts. I think the first part is how do you embrace that humanity? And I think I've seen it so many times, and it's this concept of ego. Yeah. So, there's such a thing as positive ego. And for me, negative ego is when you're wanting to take everybody down for upliftment of yourself. It's thinking that you're better than everybody. It's not pulling on relationships, pulling on other people's strengths. There is a positive side and a positive element of ego, and that's the understanding of being unique, is that we've been put on this earth not to be the same as everybody, but to be unique. And that for me is beautiful ego. So to let go of the negative ego, to realize that the importance of people and the importance of not just people in your organization, but who you surround yourself with, your relationships, all of that is absolutely, absolutely key. Because we have no choice now but to go that route, because what has been done historically has actually failed the world. And if it continues, it will continue to fail the world. So if we do not think about others, if we do not think of our environment, if we do not think around the impact of ourselves on this earth, are we giving back? Are we taking? If we don't think about those things, there will be no earth left, which sounds very dramatic, but that is the reality actually. And if we continue to behave like this, there will be nothing left, because you can't take and take and take, or take out other people, or live in this environment of toxicity and not think that something's got to give. So for me, humanity is so critical. And I think this period has actually even shown it and even put a bigger spotlight on it, is that it's the importance of people, it's the importance of compassion, empathy, lifting others, support, collaboration. It has to be done, and the time is now, because I worry what the future will look like if people do not embrace that today. And sometimes it takes a hard look in the mirror, and you'll know, Carms, I had to do that 18 months ago when I was saying, oh, my team is so terrible and they're not doing X, Y, Z. And the discussion was, well, maybe they are like that because you like that, and maybe you the problem. And I was so horrified to say, I'm the problem. But the fact of the matter is that sometimes you are the problem. And it's about acknowledging that. And it's about taking ownership for and taking responsibility for things in life. And I think the importance of that is, so critical, and so critical to the success of where we find ourselves in the world today.
Sure. So ultimately what you're saying, the benefit for us is really survival of our species. And we're not even going to survive, never mind thrive, if we don't start embracing this aspect of business that needs to become real now. And what I'm loving what you're saying is, it starts with you, with me first, and looking within and embracing that within yourself, And then you can help others embrace it too, which is what you've done so beautifully. There's another thing that you do so incredibly, Bronwyn, and that is this ability to be deeply honest. I don't think I have ever seen that in any other leader, where you have this ability to slice through, be honest with your team. And I've even seen it in your team members, where they have now embraced this absolute transparency and honesty. There's no ego. It's, I screwed up, or shucks, we've made a mistake here, or this has been a failure, let's tackle it, or calling each other out, being okay to do that in your war room, amongst your leaders, amongst the staff members, and being big enough to be able to say, shucks, you're right, you've got a point. How did you, I can only imagine it started with you being that honest as well, but how did you get your team to embrace such honesty? Because we just don't see that level of transparency in other companies.
Yeah, so it's an interesting one, because I think people don't like confrontation, and I think people rather sweep something under the carpet than deal with it. And it took me being really honest with them. I think one, honest with myself, and then honest with them, and then actually driving them. So taking them out of their comfort zone and actually really driving them to have that raw honesty with themselves and their own teams. And where we did make a mistake, it's about taking complete ownership and responsibility. And sometimes it's sitting for an hour in the depths of despair, really interrogating why things went wrong. But the importance of that is so, so key. Because without honesty, without transparency, without saying things as they are, you can face all sorts of risks because of that. Things will appear that you didn't even know existed. People will tell you what you want them to, or what they want to tell you. So the reality is that you can only deal with what you know. And if people are not telling you, or they're not telling themselves, or they're not telling their teams, then you can't deal with it. So ultimately, we've learned that, and we've learned that where things haven't been dealt with, the ramifications and repercussions of that. And that's why it's in our DNA. It's hardwired to ourselves now, because that honesty and that sort of being direct with each other is what has allowed us to get through some very, very uncomfortable situations, and will continue to do so. And the importance is critical.
If you could isolate one absolute non-negotiable that you will not tolerate in your company, what would you say that is?
So I think for me, one is complacency.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I know that you've asked me for one, but I think for me, it's complacency, and then it's lack of respect. I will not tolerate people being classist, sexist, racist. We have got such a diverse business. And that type of thing is so critical for us. So from our receptionist, who's called the CEO of reception, the level of respect has to exist in the team. And that classist, racist, sexist for me is intolerable, actually. And for me, the final thing is complacency. So when people are given an opportunity, which I know they are given with us, and they're complacent with it, we just don't tolerate that complacency.
Oh, amazing. Beautiful to insights. So you've brought up the sexist side of things. So many women battle in this man's world that you've operated in. Yet you've gone in there, you've tackled the tough side of what you need to deal with such honor and grace. As a woman, what do you think you've done differently to be able to get men in difficult territories who actually end up really you've earned their respect? What have you done to earn that respect?
I think, again, it's embracing how unique we are as women. So, I haven't tried to become one of the boys. So ultimately, we can all have fun together. We can do whatever we need to do, but ultimately it's about embracing who we are as women and the edge that we bring to a business. And we are different, and we manage differently. We've got so many different attributes that when embraced, can be beautiful for business. And that's been a very, very important thing. So one is to really embrace being a woman in business. Secondly is really just having a voice and owning your voice. You know, the number of meetings over the years I've gone into, and there are 20 people in the room and one female being myself, you know, I think women tend to lose their voices over time. And I think the importance of that voice and the importance of acknowledging your importance in the organization and really embracing that, for me, has been something that I've owned. It's been a very strange thing, because I've never, yes, it's been an industry where there are not many women, but it's never been an issue for me. You know, I've never made it an issue, you know, and yes, there is a comment here or comment there, but I've never made it an issue. You know, I've moved forward. I've never used it as a chip on my shoulder, or I've never used it to say, you know what, I never did this deal because this person thought X, Y, Z of me. I've just moved forward, and I've pushed even harder. And a lot of the men that I work with see as me as very tough, but it's not about that at all. It's about just being unique and owning who you are. And once you're comfortable in your own skin, it's so much, whatever you want to do in life, it's so much easier to do it. And that's why this concept of, you know, honor yourself, you know, you can be a better parent, a better friend, a better, whatever it is, a better business leader, once you understand yourself and you can acknowledge yourself, and once you honor yourself. And that for me has been absolutely, absolutely critical over the last couple of years.
What I love about what you said was, don't make it an issue. It's because when you raise it up as an issue, then you walk straight into it. But if it isn't an issue, then it doesn't even come up, which is such a beautiful, another amazing reframe on something that's so difficult for so many people. What can our male counterparts learn from a woman like you in terms of how you've done business differently?
Yes, I think one is it's the collaboration. So I think women tend to be a lot more collaborative. They tend to be better communicators. And I think the collaboration, communication, you know, not sacrificing others for yourself along the way, I think has been very unique to myself, and I believe the attributes of being a woman. I also think having a huge amount of empathy and compassion for people. You know, the number of times I've said to my male colleagues, you know, XYZ's behave like this because maybe he's got a bit of pressure on him. You know, he's screaming and shouting at you for money because somebody's screaming and shouting at him for money. So when you can appreciate that, and appreciate where people are coming from, it makes such a difference when you go into a negotiation or when you're dealing with people. And that has been something that I know that my male colleagues have learned from me over the couple of years. And then again, you know, just being the project management, super organized, managing a number of work streams, processes, you know, this whole concept of women can multitask, I believe is a very real thing. But, you know, we are so project driven and organized, and that when you can run everything as a project, even a problem as a project, it has the most amazing ability to drive unbelievable solutions.
Sure. So many, I can write a book from what you've given us in 1 hour. Right, run a problem as a project. That's a mic drop moment there. What does it, you've set Grit up to be, you're in a world class, you're in a league of your own as a company, and with so many firsts, it might operate in Africa, but your footprint is experienced and felt way beyond Africa. What do you think it takes to be a global leader that has positive impact? What's key to that?
Yeah, so I mean, there's probably a number of attributes. So, you know, for me, just to focus really on where we've seen our success and where we will continue to see our success is that, you know, the importance of realizing that you're not in a vacuum, that what you do, you say, how you behave impacts others, impacts the environment. It's a consideration for everything around you. Whenever you're looking at a transaction, understanding a transaction, it's the importance again of surrounding yourself with a core team that really has the same value system, that has the same passions, that has the same loves. We always have this concept of finding your why. Why do you do what you do? To surround yourself with people with similar whys is absolutely extraordinary. To surround yourself with people that you are able to have those beautiful conversations where it really does spark in your brain the most amazing ideas and energies and everything else. To surround yourself with people with high vibration, with high energy levels, with positivity, because all of that just manifests into something absolutely remarkable. And no matter what gets faced, you're able to face it together. And ultimately, you're able to find a way, as we do, and as what grit is defined by grit. So for me, that has really just been our success. And then really at the heart of it is relationships. It's spending time with people. Real estate is a very emotional asset class across Africa. People, their heritage is in their real estate. What they leave their children is in their real estate. So if they're going to trust you with that real estate, they need to know you as a person. They need to trust you as an individual. So that relationship and spending time. I mean, we spend time with people that have sold us property for 5 years before they've actually sold us the real estate asset. We've spent time with investors for 5 years before they've given us a cent of their money. And we're actually very close friends now. We have a beautiful relationship with these people. So that's for me absolutely key, is that people want to do business with people. Ultimately, people want to feel loved. They want to feel appreciated. They want to feel like they have a purpose in this world. And when you're able to encompass that in your own business model, but also be able to share that fire, energy, light with others, it's absolutely magnificent.
Sure. Magical, actually. I mean, magnificence and magic that gets created. And I want to, because you have such an extraordinary mind, and I've been very privileged to be privy to what goes on in that gorgeous mind of yours. I want to drill a little bit deeper into, maybe you can take us into there's this one quote that I found of a Lara Croft quote says, "I do my best thinking plunging off cliffs." And I think you've plunged off quite a number of cliffs and somehow managed to soar. Maybe you can take us into a situation or a phase of it could be business or personal, where it was really where you literally felt like you plunged off the cliff. What I'd like for you to share is what goes on in your mind. How do you work? What is the thing that Bronwyn does when faced with that experience? What do you do in your mind, in your quiet moments? Well, what are those things or rituals that you do to move you through?
So, one of the key examples of, I was hanging over the edge of a cliff, and I had the entire business hanging on top of me as well. So it was quite unbelievable. And that's when we did the London listing on the 31st of July, 2018. And literally at the 11th hour, the entire thing was almost unwound, from not necessarily something that we had done, but by behaviors of others and things of others. And when I find myself literally in that place, I think one of the really key things is that I try and quieten my mind. I remember at that stage walking when I found out that this whole thing had fallen apart, to the extent that I was going to fall over that cliff. I remember walking down the garden in my Johannesburg house, right to the bottom of the garden on my own. And my partner, Greg, was up at the top of the house, and I said, I have to just walk. And I just walked very briskly, and I sat in the garden, and I just really spent time in the moment, which meant that I felt it. I felt the distress. I felt the anguish. And then I said to myself, which I always do, there is a way out of this. And I kicked straight into solution mode. And I made a call at that stage to a person that wouldn't necessarily take a call from me, a person that was very senior at the time, in a very senior position. One, I don't know what made him take the call. Secondly, it was a Friday evening at 6:00. And I put every will in the world into that call. And what I did is I spoke to the human element of it. when I made that call, I spoke to the people in the business, the families, the countries that we had touched across Africa. I spoke to his human side, to why we needed this and the success of this. So the London listing was never a monetary event for me. So it wasn't like I was going to get an excess amount of cash or anything. It was really just going to take our business to the next frontier. It was going to take our business to the next level. And that meant so much for so many people, from investors to shareholders, to people that had supported us from the beginning, to staff, to families, to, our staff had literally been out of the office, it's sort of working on this listing away from their families for 3 months. It had such a strenuous, there was so much sacrifice. And that's what I spoke to when I made that call to him. And it is amazing. So for me, the key points is actually feel it. Don't try and hide from the absolute fear and anguish. Deal with it, put it where it needs to go, and then literally flow it with light and positivity and energy and love and compassion and everything from a humanitarian perspective. Just push it into that issue. And that for me, and with issues since then, that's exactly how I deal with them.
Wow. Sure. That's very powerful. I had quite a few goosebump moments there. And it's such a lovely practical example of what we can do to just still everything and then pour that love and human element and intent, pure intent into it, which then draws the other person to that intent. Thank you. So that was very powerful the way you explained that. So away from business for a moment, what would you cite as one of the most cherished moments in your life?
So, it's so difficult to go away from business because our business is so encompassed in who we are and our DNA and our core. But, and that's why the many victories that we've had and as a team have been some of the most beautiful moments in my life. And, one of the most amazing aspects, though, is being able to have 2 girls that live and really understand this dream and respect this dream and, who understand what we do. If you had to ask them, what does grit mean? They're able to tell you that. But the most cherished moments is watching them have their own lives, but using this concept of grit and using this fire and this passion and this love. And, one of the most proud moments I had is when Lexi, my daughter, last year had to choose 2 famous people that she respected and she would do a project on. And she chose Nelson Mandela and she chose myself. And 3 of the little girls in her class actually also chose me. And that for me was just so amazing because all the sacrifice, all the time away that's been away from home, the time away from them, they've turned into the most wonderful individuals because they've been able to watch and they've been able to respect and they've been able to understand what it is to live your passion and live your dream and what it is to honor yourself and what it is to find ultimate happiness and really do everything you need to do to find that happiness, to remove the negativity, to remove the negative people that completely and understand that. And that for me, if I'm able to achieve that, for me, it's just extraordinary.
So beautiful. And they are remarkable, beautiful souls. And you used to spend a lot of time away from home, yet you've managed to instill this substance in these 2 little people. What do you think does that? What have you done specifically to ensure you keep that beautiful connection with them?
So for me, it's about quality. It's about quality of time. It's about when you are with them actually being present. It's about being conscious. It's also about being a conscious parent, which means that as you can call them out, they can call you out as well. It's about realizing that your children aren't put on this earth to be replicas of you or to become your next achievement, but they're put on this earth that you are able to guide them, you are able to mentor them. And for me, that's exactly what I've done with them. So we don't have many rules, we have important rules. We focus on things that are positive, that bring happiness into our lives. We work hard, we play hard, we do sport hard. It's all about that. And for me, that's what I've been able to do, is being able to really be a conscious parent and really just make them aware of how amazing they are and how they should be living their dreams and their truths. And that for me has been the complete foundation, is that my children are not here as an alter ego of myself. They're here as their own beautiful creations. And a lot of parents, unfortunately, don't realize that. And for me, that is how I've had a relationship with my girls, and I will continue to have a relationship with them.
Sure. So many profound insights. Every time you speak, Bronwyn, there's a beautiful, profound insight. So if you were considering everything that you've shared with us, and the deep insights that has brought you to where you are in your life and in your business, if you had the opportunity to speak with all 7 billion people right now, what would you love to share with the human species?
So I think for me, it goes down to the importance of humanity. And for me, ultimately, whether it's a business, whether it's whatever it is in this world today, the heart of it has to be humanity, and it needs to be born out of humanity. And we need to start changing the way we think about things. We need to start changing our own mindset. We need to start having this, an idea is that since we've existed in this universe, have we created or have we consumed? And we need to ask ourselves that hard question. And if it comes back that we have been consumers, we need to change and become creators. And creators mean creating opportunities, giving back, looking after others. It means having empathy. It's having compassion. It's really around having a concept of love, which sounds so airy-fairy, but the concept of endless love within your organization, within your relationships, that we don't compromise each other. You know, it's not a compromised love. It's a love that loves each other for our uniqueness, and that each human being on this earth is unique. And it's about letting people find their own uniqueness and embracing that own uniqueness. Because once you get them to that point, they are such assets to you.
Thank you so much, Bronwyn. And thank you for being such a highly conscious, relevant, evolved leader with just so much. You just give so selfishly of yourself, and the results are there. And thank you for being this woman of substance, because by you showing and paving the way, so many other women, and that's happened in your company and beyond already, who they've now taken the baton and they're able to do that as well, which is such a beautiful leadership trait there. And so importantly, thank you for being a creator who's compassionate. In your own words, for being this delicious human being that the world and is making the world a better place because of the love and the value you just pouring into it. Thank you so much for this magical hour that you shared, and for giving us just unbelievable nuggets of gold. Just want to wish you continued love and success and the most beautiful things that you're given to others.
Thank you. Thanks, Coms. And I really appreciate the opportunity. I really, really do. So thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure. And to those who will be listening, if you do want to create a business without barriers, please heed to these beautiful insights, these nuggets of gold. And if you're stuck, just know you're never alone. Connect with beautiful minds. Connect with me or whoever it is that can be a mentor for you. And let's co-create solutions, because the solutions, like Bronwyn has said, is there. There's always a way. You don't have to do it alone. So let's connect, collaborate, not see each other as competitors, and just love this amazing opportunities we have going forward.